Hi. Okay, the final talk about this first build of the CX500 Turbo. Completed when? Yesterday morning, yes. And when you think you're onto the last steps and everything's going to go smoothly, absolutely not. More problems, somewhat of the biggest problems of the bike. I looked at some videos of the guys that have built this. I found some not too bad, but I was looking to see if they'd fixed the last problems that I encountered, and I don't think so. The seat mount is not correct at all. So it's got a gap there, which you can see in, and it's got a gap at the tank. And the two little pins which it slots on, it's basically just right on top of them. It's hardly touching at all. You could pull this off easily. And the reason for that is that those rear hand grips have got pins that go through the side covers, and that is stopping the seat from going down to its proper position. So this is a bit of a design fault of Tamiya, which you don't often see, I guess, or I like to think you don't often see. So the correct method would be to fit the seat and do something new with those handrails. They would need slightly lower pins to go in, and I'm going to have to face that problem when I do my second build. Also, the actual handrail height I don't think is correct. I've got a feeling they made their pins too high, which would have then have dropped the whole handrail and allowed the seat to go down. But due to the color scheme of the bike and the nature of that, you don't really see that. Second problem is you have to follow the steps, and I'm a little bit of one of those guys that thinks that I can not exactly follow the instruction steps, and I know aircraft so well that you can get away with not doing that. And you can get away with not doing it on many models. So when I was busy putting in parts of the upper fairing and then wanted to slide the assembled forks in, I realized there isn't actually enough space at the top to get the forks in. That last top of the triple clamp has to go on after the forks are already in. So that's not the handlebars, that's the piece that's just under the handlebars that clamps the two fork legs together, which is a little bit different from the usual. So I glued it and was then trying to get it through and was not getting it through. I had to sort of break my glue joint and fix it on. So with this model, you really have to follow the assembly instructions, and even then you're not going to get it fully right, as I was explaining with the turbo pipe. Looks good. Now keep in mind, I wanted to do a minimalist build. I specifically wanted to see how nice I could make this bike with painting the least amount of stuff and doing almost no extra work on it. And I think for what I was attempting to do, very nice result, and very beneficial to me, because now I know of so many of these faults that I would have to fix, and I sort of like the challenge of that, to build a second model absolutely beautifully, nothing wrong afterwards. So with this model, looks great visually, very appealing, but for the actual build, I'd rate myself barely a 6 out of 10. But some very nice aspects of the build that I did quite well. I mean, the key parts that required spraying was the gold parts, doing the indicators nicely and so on. So yep, we'll put that on the shelf next to the other bikes. So that is roughly the same age as the next two bikes that I'm going to do, and it is about the same age as this one. And this one just had zero problems. Just not a new bike, same age as the other one, 80s moldings. But everything just went together so beautifully on this one. Now granted, I did of course do a much better paint scheme. I went to trouble to do that nice candy apple red. But I mean, apart from the candy apple, the rest of the bike is very simple. I just used a lot of the chrome parts as they were. So I guess with this bike, the realization is, yeah, Tamiya were not always perfect. One would like to think that things were great. This is not that great, but you can still make a very nice model out of it. Do I recommend it? Yes, certainly, but not to the person who's building their first motorbike. Although in saying that, the problems that you're going to encounter are of the nature that someone viewing it afterwards wouldn't really know the things that have gone wrong. So an initial overview still looks like a good enough bike. There was one interesting thing I saw. So I was watching one of the guys build this CX500, and I'm watching him put on the decals to see if he got any problems. And he didn't, but he wasn't using the cartograph decals, he was using the Tamiya decals. And strangely, I think that in this case, the Tamiya decals, while they were still newish, of course not aged ones which are very brittle, were better than the cartograph ones, thinner, and that made them seat better onto the curves. So now I'm a little bit in two minds about cartograph decals. I mean, beautiful decals, very nice, a nice, I don't know if it's vinyl, but a thick decal that's not going to break on you, nicely colored, well printed, but maybe a bit too thick. I don't know. Don't know if I've built enough models with cartograph decals. Okay, give your comments. The next build 2, which as I said will have full lighting, will start in, I'm not in a rush to start. It might be a month or maybe a bit more because I've got some other bikes to work on now, which I will speak on in the next video. Okay, cheers.